going on, guys? Welcome back to NetworkChuck. Welcome to Monday. Hope you have your coffee ready. I'm drinking Peru. What are you drinking tonight? Or today, this afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Today we're talking about the CEH, or the Certified Ethical Hacker Certification. We were on version 10. Now we're on version 11. They get a new one on us. And what's new? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. I've got Mr. Daniel Lowrie from ITProTV. Daniel, you're on the screen right now. Say hi.
Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight or today or whenever, right?
Good morning, good evening, and good night. So Daniel is you probably know if you've been watching my hacking series where I've been learning hacking, he's the guy I've been watching on ITProTV to learn CEH. And he's been fantastic. I feel like I already know him, even though this is the first time, actually just a few minutes ago, I started talking to you. So we're still brand new pals, but I feel like I've known you for a long time. But anyways, he's the guy you want to talk to about hacking. He had his stuff on ITProTV covering the CEH is fantastic. I got a link below, or I'll put it in the chat right now, actually, if you want to check that out. Anyway, Daniel, the CEH. First of all, give me your overall take about how you feel about the CEH certification as a whole. And how do you feel about it compared to other hacking certifications?
You know, that's a really good question. I thought you might actually ask that because I think it's a question that comes up a lot. People want to know honest opinion kind of stuff about the different certifications because they want to know the value that they're getting out of those certifications. Is it worth it for me? You know, I hear that a lot. Is the CEH the best way to go? And honestly, it's a tough question to answer. It's a tough question to ask, even because it's so very subjective, right? Right. So if you were just to say on its face value, is the CEH worth it? I would say absolutely. I think absolutely the CEH has a very good value because it's recognized by many different employers. You go on any, job hunting port or just, Monster, the Indeeds, the Dice, whatever, and you put in CEH, you're going to see jobs. They're going to pop right up, right? Because they've got that 8570 compliance with the DoD. So you start getting all this wonderful benefit to the certification. Now, if you ask me, is the CEH the best hacking certificate for me to get if I want to be a pen tester and I want to have the latest and greatest skills? I put it this way. I think that like every one of these certs out there that we have the available to, if I'm going to compare these things, I want to compare apples to apples as much as I possibly can. And a lot of the different certifications you start getting into, maybe a crayon apple and, things, they all have their own kind of set of pros and cons. CEH does a really good job of covering a lot of material, right? You're going to get a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of security practices and hacking techniques and tools when you go into the CEH.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Cause I kind of, sorry to interrupt, but
it's okay.
I saw the new Security Plus from CompTIA. It seems like there's a lot of content overlap between the CEH and Security Plus, and I know like the CEH is definitely more focused on hands-on because they want to actually make you a pen tester, but it does go to that much breadth of knowledge without going super deep. Is kind of what it seems like.
Yeah, I think that we are the benefitee, or we're benefiting from the fact that a lot of these certification bodies are really competing with each other, and we are just reaping all that benefit. I think that's the whole reason that CEHv11 is out and is what we're seeing so far. There's a lot that we don't really know about it quite yet because, it's so new. It just dropped the other day.
Right.
So, but when you see CompTIA say, here's the new Security Plus objectives, you see a ton of overlap into something like CEH. That's because they want to springboard you into their CISA Plus and Pentest Plus. They're trying to push Pentest Plus a whole lot more, right? So Pentest Plus is definitely a direct competitor to that CEH. And if they want to make you successful with Pentest Plus, and they want to build that Pentest Plus brand, which, by the way, is an incredible certification. I took that exam. Everybody I've talked to that's taken it has all agreed that's a great exam.
Really?
And yeah, it was. I was very impressed and surprised about how good it was. Was it a true hands-on? I wouldn't say that. I think CEH is trying to go that way because they're seeing their competitors really kill it. So you look at eLearn security, right? You look at offensive security. All of these things have gone practical, hands-on. Forget this checking boxes stuff. Let's see if you can actually do what we say. And to EC Council's credit, they seem to have said, okay, that's what the people want. Let's give the people what they want. This is my impression on. I mean, we do also have that CEH practical exam now, and you can go to that
so real quick,
CEH master.
before we go further, kind of step back and tell us like who's the CEH for? Because a lot of people tuning in right now are like, okay, hacking certification, I didn't know it was a thing. What's the CEH? Where does it come into play if I'm becoming a hacker, if I want to become that person? What are the prereqs for that? And then like who is this for? And I know I'm asking a lot. It's a really big topic, but if you can condense that down in like maybe 5 seconds, go.
Yeah, sure. The CEH is for the aspiring pen tester, bug hunter, anybody who wants to get into that quote unquote red team side of things, offensive type of security, where you're testing systems, looking for vulnerabilities, and helping blue team members fix those vulnerabilities. That's CEH is meant to get you into that space, get you up to speed with tools and techniques, practices, and then you can start having that real conversation about getting in as a penetration tester.
Okay, cool. So we're looking at the version 10 test, which was a great test. I mean, it was more theory, not so much practical, from what I understand. And I'm only just going through it now. From what I could see from the version 11 test, it seems to be. I love what you said about it. They're kind of answering their critics, because I know a lot of the pen testers I talk to now who are in the field, they kind of crap on the CEH a bit, saying it's just an overpriced certification that, yeah, it does have street creds as far as like resume building and such, but if you were to talk to a pen tester, they'd be like, oh, CEH, that's not a lot of weight. They would point you towards more of an OSCP. So I want to ask 2 questions. First of all, why do you think that is? And do you think the CEH version 11 is kind of answering those I guess, insults and bad things they're saying about it?
Yeah, and it's fair, right? Like that is the temperature of the room when it comes to the CEH within the community of penetration testers. It is something that I have seen, I have heard as well. So I would say that the CEH probably gets dumped on a little bit, if you want to put it that way, because it, like you said, it has a lot of theoretical theory behind it, right? It's meant to just kind of introduce you to concepts and tactics and tools that you need to know about if you're going to become somebody that is viable in that ecosphere, right? It's now starting to push into the idea, oh, well, let's actually do this stuff. So you're watching my CEHv11 right now. You're going through that. And we were kind of talking about this before we started the show here. I've spent a lot of time making sure that I did all the things that they talk about. Because for me, I'm huge on that hands-on learning. I learn best when you say, hey, go try this and see if you're successful. If not, try to figure out what's wrong. Remember to come back here and see how it's supposed to look and see where you're missing the mark and things of that nature. So that's how I want my courses to be when I'm creating something like a CEH.
And it is, and it's great. And if my audience, if you've been watching my hacking series, I mean, a lot of the hacking stuff, I do the same thing that Daniel does. I try to demonstrate what's going on. A lot of the ideas I get from that stuff is watching Daniel. So if you want to dive deeper into, even deeper than what I talk about, which isn't hard to do, if you want to go deeper than what I talk about, then yeah, check out Daniel's stuff at ITProTV. But yeah, you do a great job of that. So anyways, I interrupted you. Continue.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. So I think that when CEH came out, they were really kind of a unicorn in the certification world. They were the ones that had some sort of hacking certification you could go to, other than like your SANS, right? SANS was the de facto. You go to SANS, you get the hacking experience. That's the real deal. It's insanely expensive. So if you're lucky enough to get like a, one of their scholarship programs or whatever, then good on you, because that's amazing. And that's great training, but it's just usually out of the price range of most people. So CEH comes along and they offer something, and they're really the only real game in town. And then all of a sudden you start seeing offensive securities, the OSCP start making big waves in that. But why? It's because the people that were taking that were able to actually do something. Their test was not, hey, look at these different possible Sql injections and tell me which one is viable and check the box, right? It was, here's a website. There may or may not be a Sql injection vulnerability in that website. Good luck to you, sir, and may the,
may
the
also
odds
helps,
ever be in your favor.
It also helps that the creators of the OSCP, the offensive security, whatever they're called, are also the creators of Kali Linux, which that's great branding for them if you guys don't already know that. So when you download Kali, right, and you go through the menu, that stuff is right there. Hey, offensive security, look it up. By default, it's in the start menu, the Linux menu.
Oh, hit the browser. Where does it take you, right?
Oh, exactly.
If you're
yeah.
in Kali Linux, you hit that browser. Your landing page is, here's a bunch of awesome offensive security links. Why don't you check those out? So I think it was them. They really started pushing, and now because of that, we're seeing eLearn Security come out, right? And they have amazing stuff as well. CEH going, okay, I got to stay relevant in this space. I've got to start doing that, and I think that's what they're trying to do. It does seem to be, to me, what V11 is all about. Is like saying, you know what, we're going to push this thing, and we're going to try to be just as good as our competitors, if not better. Obviously, it's usually most people's, what they're trying to accomplish. I would like to be the best that I can be in this space. Hopefully, that's what they're trying to do. They're reasonably, well, I say reasonably, they're competitively priced with some of those. So if offensive security, I think, is running $1,200 or $1,400 or something to that effect.
Ooh.
That's about what you're going to get with. If I'm trying to remember, CEH is right around just over $1,000.
Well, from what I remember, if you don't have ITProTV, right, and you want to pay for like CEH's official courseware, it's like $1,000 by itself, and then their certification you have to pay $1,000 for, which is like. Yeah. If you're more of a traditional learner, like you go through Microsoft certifications, Cisco, CompTIA, that's a punch in the gut. Like $1,000, why?
Well, you got to think of it. It's not so bad if you think of it like this. If you took a 5-day training class or a boot camp somewhere, how much is that going to run you just for the course?
Oh, it's like upwards of a couple $1,000s for that. Yeah,
$2,000 easily in any one of those spaces. And depending on, maybe it's some advanced Cisco or something to that effect, it can be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. SANS training, we see that is easily $5,000, $6,000. So all of a sudden, a $1,400 exam that gets you past the HR gate seems relatively not too bad.
Yeah, that's true.
And they give you amazing training. So if EC Council is able to take that breadth of knowledge that they try to give you in the CEH, what we saw in V10, and they're applying more of that into the hands-on sphere, because if you're looking at that landing page for CEHv11, they are pushing hands-on this, 18 hands-on challenges, not simulations. You're going into a live environment. This is what we expect as learners nowadays. I expect to get a VPN connectivity or a VPN connection file, get connected. I'm in a real-world scenario. It's hopefully, just for me. Some of them you have to share with other students, but everybody's kind of seeing like, oh, I can virtualize this for everybody if I keep it small enough, and you can have your own. So you're not kind of stomping over other people's exploits and things of that nature. That can get a little frustrating. I've been down that road, but they're trying to be. That's what I'm seeing with CEHv11 from what they're saying from the EC Council website.
So just to sum that up, so the previous exam, version 10, was more theory. So we're going to see like traditional questions, multiple choice, drag and drop, situations like that. But the V11, we're hoping, and according to their one-page website, it looks really fancy. It's nice. They're saying they're going to be more hands-on.
I think the training will be. I don't know that I got that from their exam. I think the exam is still.
It's hard to differentiate that, isn't it? Because they always brand it as like the whole package. They never separate the training from the course. They always assume you're going to take their stuff.
Yeah, well, they don't like other people teaching their stuff. So, and I get that, right? They have a brand, they're building it.
Yeah.
It seems though that their problem is that once they became 8570 compliant and it's a certification, then they have to open it up for other types of training in that sphere. So that's why we get to be able to do CEH training. I understand that they're not a huge fan of that, but that's a business decision that they had to make. And if they're creating training that's kicking my butt, then I got to step up my game, right? This is, again, that healthy competition makes it, the benefit go to the end user, right? The learner out there, because they're like, man, I've got a cornucopia of great training, and everybody's benefiting because we see people, they go out and they buy that CEH course and they supplement with ITProTV, or they supplement with another vendor, right? I know I like to do that kind of thing where it's hard to just stick with one perspective and really get all that knowledge. So I totally understand that people want multiple avenues in which to support their learning and support their training, get different perspectives, different experiences, which is all the things that I try to bring to my CEH courses or any of the other technical skills that would go along. You know, that's the great thing about ITProTV is I'm allowed to create other content that's not necessarily, you know, CEH, but would definitely supplement and support that training. I just created a whole hands-on hacking series.
I saw that.
Where,
yes.
Yeah, I'm just cranking out boxes and we're building methodology and using tools and, oh, that's why this worked. And, oh, that's right, I should think about that. Let me make a note. I mean, I have so many notes that I create for myself because, you know, this is just so much knowledge that you have to have for this sphere that unless you're doing a lot of things over and over and over again, there's going to be these little, you know, niche things, edge case stuff that, oh yeah, I remember going through that. You've done it once or twice, but if you're pressing me on exactly what the nuts and bolts of that were, I'm probably going to have a hard time. So I create all these files that we kind of go through in that. Anytime I need one, I'm like, oh yeah, let me check out. I know I got a text file around here somewhere on how to do that very thing. Let me pull that up and grab that. And that just ends up lending to your experience and your learning. And now you get to incorporate that and it becomes part of your experience. And all of a sudden you take an exam and it's not so scary. You don't feel so like, it's like, oh, I know this is $1,000 well spent because I'm going to pass this exam. You know, I'm not saying I guarantee people to pass their exams. That's obviously not a statement I can make, but you'll have a much easier time if you have those experiences that are in line with what you're learning with whatever certification you're taking. Doesn't matter what it is.
Oh yeah, it just makes it stick. I mean, it's so hard to make theory feel real to you. It's so hard to make theory stick because you never have that hands-on. I mean, proper learning, is what I believe, is always multi-sensory. You have to use all kinds of ways to get that into your brain, especially IT, because I mean, it's a skill you're learning to use.
I'll tell you what I've realized throughout the years of my time as an instructor and a trainer is that context is key, right? If I said, Chuck, here's how to do, you know, cross-site scripting attack and do session hijacking with cross-site scripting, you go, okay, I understood the words you're using, and in 10 days, if I came back and I said, okay, Chuck, show me how to do cross-site scripting and steal a session token with that. You might, and you haven't looked at it since. You might be like, okay, I know something about JavaScript. I gotta kind of, right? But if I start telling you a story, it was a part of an experience. All of a sudden, your brain kind of holds on to that a little bit tighter. You know, I always make the idea of if you were in like a near-death experience, you could tell me what you had for breakfast that morning with great detail, what you were wearing, what the air smelled like, all these details. You weren't even trying to remember that stuff, but there was a very specific context that went around that day that made your brain hold on to that. And I realized that, so I started trying to tell stories. I started trying to make it more relevant in a contextual environment to help make that kind of context stick. And hopefully that translates to the exam booth.
Yeah, I think we have the same goal with that, to try and create that situation, whatever it is, that makes it stick. And hopefully it's never a near-death experience, although that will definitely make it stick. I promise you, I'll remember everything about it. But yeah, just making it entertaining, which you guys do, and I hope I do as well. And just, yeah, I love the context, because for me, with training and teaching things, it's all about the why. Like, why am I learning this? Where does this fit into the narrative of what I'm doing, what I'm becoming? How's it going to help me? Who am I going to be helping with this? So real quick to recap. So the version 10 to version 11, we're hoping it's more practical, and it's very practical what we're hearing in the actual training product that this EC Council produces. But what we don't know just yet, and it could be the case, is if the exam is actually going to be hands-on and practical.
Yeah, we know they do have a practical exam, and that kind of like they have this kind of formulaic approach to their CEH master certification.
So have you taken the practical?
No, I haven't taken the practical yet. It's just I haven't had time. I have so many balls in the air right now as far as like different training that I'm taking. And
come on, man, you got to take it and come back and tell us. Come on.
I know. I would love to take it. And then every time I try to do something for myself, Don comes over and goes, I need you to get in the studio and make a show for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you and making me work for my money. So crazy. I don't know what he's thinking, but
that's a shame.
Yeah. As soon as I get some chance, I really want to take this version of the exam, and I definitely want to take the practical side of it just to see how it stacks up against the. You know, I've taken the eLearn Security EJPT exam recently. Passed that, was phenomenal, great experience. I've taken OSCP. that's a kick in the teeth.
How'd you do on that?
Hey, yeah, you try harder, right? That's what you do. You keep trying harder until you're ready to pull your eyes out, then you win. So that's the idea. So I want to see how they stack up against, and then of course I do things like Hack the Box and try Hack Me, Pentester Lab. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly looking at all these different resources that are available for learning in this space. This I keep using the term red team. I know it's not technically red teaming, at least not per se, but that's the kind of the general term we use nowadays. But get into that pen testing space, that ethical hacking space. What am I learning? I've kind of started to shift a little bit into learning more about bug bounties and get over into web applications a little bit harder and learning more about web technologies. So getting boned up on that. So I got a lot on my plate. I want to learn all that stuff and incorporate that so that I can bring it back to people that are watching IT Pro TV and go, man, this is a plethora of information and a great resource for me to use, either whether I'm supplementing or I'm just using it. I've had people say, I've watched CEHv11 and that was the only thing I used and I passed CEH. And I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. Right. I don't tell everybody that means you can go out and you will pass CEH.
Oh no, trainer's biggest mistake. Yeah, never say that.
I would be remiss to make that statement, but it is possible for people to do it because I have seen that people have, and I'm proud of that. Right. I think that I want to give people the best training they can, so I want to get those experiences so that I can help them be prepared. Because I was just like, right before we started, somebody hit me on LinkedIn and they were saying, I'd done a write-up about my EJPT experience. And they said, I'm so thankful for your experience because it helps me with some of the anxiety I was having about sitting the exam. I was unsure about this, that, or the other, and you really clarified that for me. So that's why I want to bring those experiences. I don't mind going into a testing booth and completely failing an exam, because at least there's an experience there, right? If I take that experience, I learn from it. I know where my weak spots are. These are all learning opportunities. I'm going to fail my way forward if I have to. And that is a very good method. Now, a lot of times that can get expensive, so you got to be strategic with that method. But
especially with the CEH. So speaking of which, so someone's asking, it's from Iram Bar. He says, how advanced do you have to be to take the CEH certification?
I don't think well, let's define advanced, right?
Right. So
let's start there. Let's define some terms. If you were to say advanced, if I were to say advanced on a scale of beginner, intermediate, advanced, we'll use that as our scale. Advanced would be able to perform out-of-the-box pen testing techniques, probably writing your own tools, maybe even creating some shell code, AV evasion, things of that nature, right? Intermediate is going to be, I'm able to use the standard fare hacking tools effectively in a penetration test or something in there, right? And then the beginner would be, I'm aware of security concepts. I have some good operating system knowledge, networking knowledge, basic security, and I'm pretty good at understanding some of these tools that are being used. CEH falls in the line of that beginner. That's where it would definitely land you. After that, that's a great springboard into getting into those intermediate, because now you can start having that conversation. There's a lot of assumed knowledge as you move up the ladder. And if you don't have that knowledge, then it's going to be a really hard time. If you said, I'm going to go sit CEH, or I think I'm at that level, I'm just going to take the test, and you know nothing about Linux operating systems, you know nothing about how websites work even fundamentally, you are going to fail, right? So
if you had to like give let's say 2 or 3, maybe 4 like prereq certifications that you would feel comfortable telling people they need to have before approaching the CEH, what would they be?
Yeah, obviously the security triangle. Well, I say the security triangle. I say these are the network or IT fundamental secure, or not security, but certifications. That's the word I'm looking for. IT certifications is that Net Plus, A Plus, Security Plus. CompTIA gets a lot of slack. We're talking about people like poo-pooing or dumping on different certification organizations. CompTIA has long been known as, this is too easy. You look at their stuff, it is definitely stepped. Like you said, Security Plus is starting to dip into CEH level. So if you go through A Plus and you get that operating system knowledge, I've done A+ with Wes as a series. I see what those objectives are. I know what level you have to know about wireless, operating systems, networks, security, all the different, even some programming now is A+. A+ is starting to talk about scripting languages, Bash, Python,
Really?
PowerShell. Yeah.
It's been a bit for me because my A+, I got mine back in 2009. So it's been a while, but that's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, these vendors are seeing what the market is demanding for, what you need to know to actually be some sort of professional. Long gone are the days of if you knew how to hook up your mom's AP, then you were kind of the network person. You knew networking, right? Everybody kind of knows how to do. A lot of people, I say everybody, I'm being hyperbolic, right? A lot of people know basic computing function now because computers are just so much a part of our lives. Connectivity is a part of our lives. So they've had to push their game up. If you get A+, Net+, Security+, you have a pretty good, well-rounded set of skills. I would highly recommend maybe even a Microsoft cert, maybe dip in some cloud, maybe just some fundamental cloud, right? Just get that well-rounded. You need to be a well-rounded person to get into security, especially if you're going to go red teaming. Right?
Because, yeah, that's what I tell people, because hacking is kind of like the cloud in that whatever skill set you bring when you start learning those things are going to benefit you, because cloud is just a different way to do the things you learned back in the A+ or the Network Plus. Same for hacking, right? Like it's just a different way of implementing those things you learned, more offensively and defensively, obviously, but you have to have those prereqs because it's just the technology used a different way.
Yeah. And is it possible for you to kind of like come out from the other end and work your way backwards? Yeah, it is, but it's a whole lot harder.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. It's always hard to go the way you're not supposed to go, right?
Oh man. I remember when I took a web application penetration testing course, like a 2-day boot camp. Right. And all of a sudden I realized how much I didn't know about Flask and Python and Django, because these are modern applications that are used and technologies that are used to build modern web apps. And I'm like, oh, it would probably be good for me to understand this stuff a little bit better. So then I can take those hacking skills that I have and apply it here. Because if I don't know what that does or how it's supposed to work, I'm going to have a hard time breaking it in a way that makes any kind of sense other than broken. That's anybody can throw a monkey wrench into something, but to have it break in a way that gives you some access or does something meaningful, it means you have to understand a bit how it works so that you can have it fail in the way that you want it to and return the results you're looking for. So it kind of goes back to that. I hear a lot of people ask the question, do I need to know programming to be a pen tester? Right? You ever hear that question?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah. And here's what I see with that. A lot of people answer that question and they say, absolutely not. You do not need to know any kind of programming to be an effective bug bounty hunter, penetration tester, and that. And I would say this to that. That is absolutely correct. You do not need to know that stuff. But boy, does it make it a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It makes like, understanding that easy.
Well, it's like jumping into like network programmability. I'm a network engineer by trade. And I mean, you don't have to know everything about Python and everything just to jump into network programmability and click a few buttons to automate, but it certainly helps. It certainly helps out, and that's everything with IT. I think a trend we're seeing now with anything, if you're a system admin or whatever, learning a little bit of programming is going to help out everywhere, and especially with hacking, right? Because like a lot of the times you're going to be reverse engineering all kinds of stuff. You don't know what you're going to be doing with hacking, especially pen testing. So let's go back real quick to the differences between the version 10 and version 11. I saw that we had some new stuff on IoT and malware, and then they also mentioned some stuff on cloud. Do you know any more about than just the bullet points, or do you know how deep they're going to go with those? Yeah,
not yet. I'm gonna have to get on getting some of that courseware, because that's where really the meat and potatoes on what they want you to know. Again, these aren't different objectives than what they had in V10, but they've said that there's more emphasis and a little bit deeper of a dive into those areas, and for good reason. I mean, the fact that cloud is obviously a major part of our lives nowadays. Malware is a good one, because as you get deeper into the red team side of things, you're going to need to create your own malware. Because I mean, I can't tell you how many times simple things, even custom stuff that I built, gets popped by AV, and you're like, oh, now I've got to go into some AV evasion techniques to help get this stuff. The Windows Defender will kick your butt. Let me tell you what, that's a decent piece of software for that. So I give my props out to Microsoft for that. I don't know if my thing is kicking up. It's weird.
Yeah, your audio kind of went weird for a bit.
Let me see if I can fix that.
Oh, there you go. That's better now.
I think the cable got pulled.
No, you were getting live hacked. You said something about malware, and you were getting taken down. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? No, it's okay, I think. Little wave sounding right now.
1 second. It's the audio thing. How about that?
I think it's better. Talk.
Yeah.
Oh,
whoa. And we're back.
There we go. All right,
Technology's a fun thing.
So we just got live hacked, and we solved it. So that was a little blue team exercise. Good job.
Right. That's right. We caught him. We caught him in the act.
It's okay.
Get
We're all
the IR
safe, guys.
team out here.
So I think we because that's the frustrating thing about when a new revision on a certification comes out, because they give us the bullet points, but they say, okay, we're going to go more into cloud, we're going to go more into IoT. That could be like a million different things they could go into. We have no idea what they're going to deep dive into. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out though. So I know that I mean, we're going to be doing that course in the very near future, I'm sure, because it is an in-demand certification because of what you can get out of it. It has a lot of value. So a lot of people are, they go after that certification. So I don't definitely knock them for that. I think that's a good idea. It can definitely open some doors from a HR perspective. Oh, CEH, that was one of the check marks. Bam, they got it. Pass to the next round. So like I said, I think this cert has value for opening doors and giving you some good knowledge. If you've never taken CEH before and you get that courseware, if you buy the course where you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy the course. It's 3 books and they're like together, they're about like that thick.
Oh,
it's a crazy volume of like super broad bit of knowledge. And sometimes I'll be looking at it and just going, I can't believe they're going this deep. They want you to know this at this level. And sometimes I'm a little like just dumbfounded at what and I'm like, okay, well, if that's the road they want you to go down. And to me, it's like, okay, what they're trying to do is say, this is our secret sauce. This is our, how we stay, or demark ourselves out from our competitors. You're going to learn some things in these veins that you're not going to learn from the others if you go that way. So I see that a lot through different vendors. So I'm not surprised at that. It's just sometimes you're just like, whoa, I can't believe I'm learning this. And now I'm going to try to see if I can do this. So now that they've got those hands-on hacking challenges that go along with that, I think that's a really good value add to their certification, because I don't ask anybody who's trained anything, firefighters, police officers, whatever, military, they train something for so long, eventually they want to see if they can do what they've been trained to do.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I think the same holds true with us as we learn these techniques. We want to go, man, I want to know if I tried to do this against something I didn't set up myself and know that vulnerability was there, would I be able to spot it? And then would I be able to actually perform this and be successful? So I like that. I think anytime you get hands-on, you get a thumbs up in my book.
Now, do you think we were talking about the Pen Test Plus earlier, and I've never heard great things about Pen Test Plus, and that's just probably because it's CompTIA, right? And CompTIA is seen as the early on certifications in the early on career, which are great actually. So if you're watching this, you're like, I'm going through a CompTIA thing. They're awesome. I got them. They started my career. But as you go more advanced people will say, ignore CompTIA. If you got the help desk job, you're already done. How does Pen Test Plus compare to the CEH, both from a what you learn standpoint and also from a marketability standpoint, in your opinion?
So I found, all right, so basing my opinion on the, obviously Pen Test Plus is very new, right? It's only been out for almost 2 years now, or right at 2 years.
And it's significantly cheaper. Yeah.
Significantly cheaper, right? I think if you put that against CEHv11, you have a very strong competitor there. I thought the course material was really good. We're a CompTIA partner. Like, we do all the official CompTIA video training here at ITProTV. So I was kind of privy to the study guide and material before that came out so that we could try to be first to market on that with some training for that certification. And I was like, man, this is impressive. I like what they're doing. I thought it was a logical flow. I didn't think it was too advanced or too skitty, if we're going to use those terms. It was a very good introductory examination certification, as well as a first step into that sphere from CompTIA. I thought they did a very strong. And then every time I went to a conference, like I've been to Wild West Hacking Fest, B-Sides, all that stuff. You talk to somebody like, hey, have you done Pentest Plus? Oh yeah, I was actually really surprised at how strong it was. I liked it. A lot of people talked to that beta tested it. I was offered a beta test. I just didn't have the time to do it. And then when I took it, I just went in there and sat it, right? I just said, I'm just going to go sit the exam and see what it's like. And it was like, okay, not too bad. They kind of have their own examination. Now, obviously, you're going to be doing some check some boxes here and there, check all that apply. Which one of these things is not what you're looking for? Those old fun questions that you get. But it was also, all right, take a look at this log and tell me where the attack is, or bypass this firewall. What's the correct tool and what's the correct switches for this Nmap scan? So they got a little bit deeper. They gave me awesome. Some good meat on the bone. I was fairly impressed with that, and I think that CEH has been around for a while, so they've got a really good honed product. They know what to put out. They know what people are expecting, and now they're having to compete. So I think that when Pentest Plus came out, it was a strong competitor to V10, and now here comes V11 stepping up the game even more, because you're not going to get that hands-on stuff with the Pentest Plus. They don't have labs and all that, not that I know of anyway. Maybe they do, and I just haven't been privy to it. But here we are seeing EC Council going, let's get you in. Let's do some hand stuff. This is not simulation. Get in there, hack a box, try this technique, see if it works. If not, what went wrong? So I'll be really interested in the next iteration of Pentest Plus.
Yeah.
And if they step their game up, are they going to add hands-on labs? Are they going to give that kind of resource to the end user? Because if they're not going to, then they should. That would be a misstep in my opinion.
So let me ask you this question. So someone, if they're looking at becoming a hacker and they have this pivotal point, they have to make this decision: Pentest Plus, CEH. I mean, honestly, obviously, if you're looking at the price alone, you're like, Pentest Plus looking really pretty right now. But what should they choose? What would be best for their career?
Oh man, that's a good question.
And this is just your opinion, and people, please realize that when Daniel's telling us this, it's his opinion, and he has experience in the industry and everything. But what we say is not doctrine. It's just what we experience, and your experience may be different. So, anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking to I think that if I had to choose one over the other right now, I'd have to put my money on CEH, and here's why. Not because the Pentest Plus is a bad exam or anything like that, but it's still relatively new. It doesn't have the notoriety. I'm not 100% on whether or not it's DoD checked out, so it very well may not be at this point in time. That does take time and effort to get done. CEH has those things. It's a known name. It has 8570, and it's comparable in difficulty and skill level that you'll come away with as the Pentest Plus. So right now, if I had to put my money on one, I would have to say CEH at this point.
Okay, awesome. So which is rough, because I'll tell you two reasons why I'm not a big fan of the CEH just yet. Now, as far as content goes, I love the content. It's great. Two reasons I kind of hate it. It's the price, because I hate the big barrier to entry, and then also that 2-year experience check they give you. And it's not just like a recommendation, like, oh, you should have 2 years experience, like all these other certifications. They make you verify it, which I think is such a bummer to people trying to get into the industry.
I think that is probably one of their biggest mistakes, is that they do that. I understand why. I totally get it. Like they don't want you to go in there and spend buku amounts of money and then fail because you didn't have the prerequisite knowledge.
Yeah, I see that.
Right?
I see that.
That's kind of the push for that. And they had to draw a line in the sand and say, are we going to require it, or are we just going to make it a strong suggestion? They fell on the side of, we're going to require it because, and I think business wise, it probably makes more sense because then you don't have a large fail rate. And people hear like, oh, everybody fails the CEH all the time and it's super expensive. And now you got to take it again. I really should have had that 2-year suggested, background knowledge. And I didn't. I thought, I'll be able to overcome that. And I couldn't. I failed. They don't want that being the stigma around, at least that's my guess, right? If it were me, that would be what I would thinking.
I could see that.
Doesn't mean
I
that
could see that.
Pentest Plus does not have value, right? Because if you're like, you know what, I just want to start learning this stuff and then I'm going to move on to something else, then Pentest Plus, it's really cheap. It's not that expensive at all. I would also start pulling in eLearn Securities, the pen testing student / EJPT, the eLearn Security Junior Penetration Tester certification.
See, I still can't get my mind wrapped around all the acronyms on the eLearn side. I'm like, okay, that's just another thing full of I have no idea what's going on.
They go crazy with that stuff. But man, I'll tell you right now, if you were to say, okay, Daniel, let's get your opinion on Pentest Plus versus CEH versus EJPT, I would EJPT that thing in a heartbeat.
Really?
New York second. It was. I kept hearing buzz about it, people talking about it and saying, yeah, this was a really good experience. It was a really good exam. I'm like, all right, I got to check this thing out. I got to check this out. I got to see what's going on here. It was some of the best. It was the exam. I never had fun taking an exam before. I had fun taking that exam.
So was it hands-on?
It was totally hands-on. It was questions though as well. So the way they work it is they give you questions that only someone who has inside information to the network would be able to answer.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's like this scavenger hunt for hackers, right? Where you're finding all these things and you have to be able to perform X, Y, and Z techniques to gain that information. So you're doing all that hands-on stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not a CTF. It's not a capture the flag where you got some weird steganography trick you got to do, or some weird logic puzzle that's, they hid it in this directory structure that if the Greek god of X, Y, and Z. No, it's not that. It's not like that.
Not like a weird obscure question, right? Yeah.
Yes. Anybody that's done CTF stuff is probably going, amen, brother, right? This stuff is, it's supposed to, that's a game, right? That's supposed to be a part of a game. That's a puzzle. This is an exam that is fun because of how it's structured. It is a very straightforward junior penetration tester level exam. They will take you from total beginner into, I think they're the biggest competition. eLearn Security is probably the biggest competition, not just for EC Council, but for CompTIA, for offensive security. We didn't see an update to offensive security until eLearn Security started really winning hearts and minds. And then, right? Because I don't know if you knew this or if you remember, I think it was like a year, maybe 2 ago, somebody leaked on Twitter some exam answers to the OSCP because they had contacted offensive security and said, these things are out in the wild. You need to update your exams. And they heard crickets. They said, okay, if you don't update your exams, it invalidates your certification, and I'm going to put this on the web. And they heard crickets. So dump they did. And like 2 days later, offensive security contacted them and said, okay, we're going to update. Don't worry. And they took it down. It was all in because you don't want to get stale, right? Hacking is something that changes constantly. New technologies are coming out. Old ones are becoming irrelevant, right? And they saw that exam was becoming irrelevant and that the technologies or the exam itself was exposed. So it was lowering the value of having your OSCP. Thank goodness offensive security saw that. And they said, you know what, you're right. We're going to make a change here. You kind of forced our hand. I don't know exactly what went on with that conversation, but that was from, an outsider looking in going, wow, this is like crazy to watch. And then eLearn Security comes in and just starts mopping up with phenomenal exams that are not meant to be. If anybody's taken OSCP, they know it is very CTF-y. They love to send you down a rabbit hole and make you have pressures of time and, why isn't this working? I'm running out of time. And a lot of people fail just because they mismanage their time. and the pressure of it. And they say they're trying to emulate the pressure of a real, and time constraints of a real pen test. And I get that. I think that's valid in some ways. But eLearn Security is like, we're just going to give you a pen test. You want to use a tool? Use a tool. You want to create your own? Create your own. Go do it. Like, you want to use Metasploit? Kick it. Go for it. We don't care. That's what pen testers do. And I saw that and I was like, this can't be real, right? They can't be like saying this. And I actually talked to them and they were like, yes, we want you to be able to do anything that a real pen tester would do in our exams. So
that's
there you
awesome.
go. So I'm a huge proponent of eLearn Security at this point.
So I'm on their website now, and I'm in alphabet hell. I can't even see what's going on, but I do see the EJPT. So that's the CEH and Pentest competitor, and in your opinion, the winner.
Yes.
What would be the equivalent to the OSCP, or would you say that's an equivalent?
I wouldn't say it's an equivalent to OSCP. No, I would say that it is a great, like, if I were creating a roadmap to OSCP, I would do EJPT, then I would do their PTP, which is the Pen Testing Professional, and then go back and do OSCP. Because EJPT is not quite enough for OSCP. PTP is well beyond OSCP, but you kind of get, but then you'll be able to go back and kill OSCP. That's been the word on the street. That's been a lot of people that I've seen watching, people I interact with that are in the space that are going after these different certifications. That's been a common story that they're telling. Oh, yeah, I went EJPT, PTP, then I came back and killed it on OSCP. It was like I knocked it out of the box in like 12 hours and I was done, on a 24-hour exam. You see things like that all the time. So it's nice to know, like, I mean, I don't know about you, Chuck, but if there's a certification out there that's got red team written on it, I want it. I don't care what it is, right? I want to have all that because I want to know all those different experiences and the exams and see where they're trying to point you to and what's relevant in that space. So my job right now is basically learn everything from everyone so that I can help, Joe and Sally out there that are trying to get into security on a red team side of things and really point them in the right direction, give them the resources that are going to help them be successful and fill that security gap that we have as far as workers go, having enough qualified, trained security professionals in that space. Obviously, if anybody's paying attention, you haven't had their head under a rock for the last 10 years or so, we know that we sorely need qualified people in that area. So I want to help get people, I think having a more secure world is a better thing because then I don't have to worry about my bank account getting hacked. I don't have to worry about someone doing nefarious things with my identity and then me having to suffer the consequences of that. I don't want that for you. And because I don't want that for me, I don't want that for you. And I want it for anybody else. And hopefully that's vice versa. It's very symbiotic in this world, in that case.
Well, that's great. And you're so right because, I mean, it's like any other threat we have in our world. It's always going to be something new. It's always evolving. And we always need people that are researching this and anticipating the bad actors' next moves. They are. It's crazy how fast they move, and we need to move just as fast, and we need more people. A great question from where did it go? Jimmy. He says, "Does ITProTV offer training for EJPT and PTP and ABCDEFG?"
We do not offer training for those courses. I just learned to, basically, I got my EJPT like 3 weeks ago or so, maybe a little longer. B, they have split. They're owned by INE, which is a direct competitor for ITProTV, and they're creating their own video training course.
Wait, hold on. eLearn is owned by INE?
Yeah, they were
really?
acquired like a year. They just released that like a few weeks ago.
Oh, I see that now. And INE was acquired by somebody else too. They're a all corporate company now.
They're
Interesting.
All corporate company.
Yeah.
Now they have split off their certification from their training though. So, and if they do something like go down the route of becoming DoD, then they fall in the same purview as EC Council does, and we would be able to create training based around that. That being said, that doesn't mean that we don't have training that would help you in that sphere. The whole purpose of me creating that hands-on hacking series is because I kept seeing all these vendors pop up with hands-on certifications, OSCP, EJPT, PTPT, all A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
My favorite one.
They're all out there, right? And I thought, what would be great is if we just had a tech skills type course where we do hands-on hacking to give you that hands-on experience. So I found all the I knew about all these resources that would allow somebody to build their own lab and do some hands-on stuff, follow the bouncing ball with me, and we're going to talk about it. It's not just going to be like, I follow a lot of people on YouTube and stuff that do a great job of walking you through things like CTFs. Oh, today we're going to do X, Y, or Z CTF. And they take you from soup to nuts. I thought, man, this is great, but most of the time it's just, okay, the next thing I do is this, I find this, I perform this step, and we're on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's like one of those video game walkthrough guides you used to buy, right? Like that's no fun. Like when you get stuck is nice, but you shouldn't just walk through step by step. Yeah.
Right. You nailed it. What I wanted to do was do that, but okay, let's camp out here. Why is this important? How did we even figure this out? What do we need to know about this to make it relevant for what we're going to do so we can incorporate this knowledge? And what I liked about CTFs was they kind of had a built-in story, right? So we could use that as the context for that, and it makes a much more engaging experience, and it gives you that hands-on practical experience that you need for those types of exams. So watch the hands-on hacking course. And the great thing about it is that I was telling my superiors, I said, this is the gift that keeps on giving for us, because new CTFs come out all the time, and I just add them, and I continue to add. So this is going to be an ever increasing body of knowledge that people can go to and use as, oh, yeah, that's right, and learn new skills, see how they're being applied. And if you forgot something, go back, watch it again, try it again, figure out, what is he talking about here? Let me look that up. Maybe I didn't go into enough detail, and I'm trying to tease out all the detail I can inside of that course, so that if you are going for one of these hands-on type of certifications, you're better prepared, and that was my goal with it anyway.
Now that's awesome, by the way, but that makes this question pop up in my mind. I'm fairly new to the hacking world, so I don't know, like, as far as like applying for a pen tester job or other types of jobs, blue teams, I don't know. As far as that goes, how valuable are certifications? Because I'm not sure if it's like the programming world where it's more about what you know and how you can demonstrate that. So do certifications hold a lot of weight in the hacking world, or is it more about, can you do the CTF? Do they do CTFs in an interview? How does that, what does that look like, and how's that world kind of structured?
Super interesting question, because from my experience with talking with people that are looking for people to add to their team as a pen tester, right? So I go to these conferences, and one of the things I'll ask the vendors as I bounce from booth to booth is, okay, so you're a pen testing company. I train people to learn the skills that you're looking for, that they need to be effective and to get jobs with companies like yourself. What makes the best candidate? What are you looking for, right? The good news is that more often than not, I'm hearing a lot, I'm looking for attitude and aptitude overall, right? I heard one guy tell me, I think it was from like NetSpy or something. He said, I can train you to be the hacker I need you to be, but if you don't work well with the team, if you're not good with customers, I can't train that into you. You're either good or you're not.
And that's what I tell people, like my audience, I've been preaching this to you guys forever. The X factor skills you need to have are the attitude, right? Go in, you're willing to learn. You're willing to do everything. Stay late, study hard, whatever. Demonstrate that. And also being able to deal with people. Customer service is that secret weapon you can have, just dealing with people. So right now, how can you prepare for a hacking job? Get a job at Starbucks and try to make some lattes for people. That's what you can do. But that begs the question, though. It's great when you get to talk to that guy and demonstrate that, but how do you get to talk to that guy? Right. What's on your resume that gets you through those HR barriers?
Yeah, that brings us to the certifications. I would constantly ask them, let's say a person like myself, what would you think? Would I be a qualified candidate? I've got a few certifications. What are your certifications? Okay, I've got CEH, Pentest Plus, and EJPT. I also have basic skills with creating Python programs, Bash scripting, some PowerShell. I understand X, Y, and Z technologies when it comes to cloud and networking. And constantly that I would be confronted with, well, you can go talk to our recruiter right over there. You need to give them your card. And I'm like, well, I'm happy where I'm at. Thank you. But, and those aren't anything that would be out of the realm of possibility for anybody that's looking to get into that. So yes, certifications are really good for getting past those HR barriers. Now, we have to pad that though. It's not this one and done thing. It's not like, I got my CEH, man, I'm going to be knocking doors down left and right. There's tons of people that have their CEH. So what separates you from them? It's the extracurriculars that we engage in that are really going to set us apart from the pack. Do I think you need certifications? I think they're very helpful in gaining work in as something like a penetration tester, an ethical hacker. You're doing vulnerability assessments, things of that nature. With that, though, I would highly recommend creating your own tools, learning, go through a Python course, learn some Python, create a tool. I don't care if it does the most mundane thing that there's already a million way better tools for, right? Build a port scanner, build something that, pings a network and finds all the live machines and then port scans them.
That's
right?
Great advice. That's
right.
awesome.
It's not going to kill you. It's going to make you learn a lot about the language. You're not going to be a developer at that point, but you're going to have a functional working knowledge of that language. And then put it in GitHub, right? And then go put that GitHub repository on your webpage, right? Or on your LinkedIn.
On your LinkedIn, yeah. Get that going.
Now someone goes, oh, okay. Not only do they have CEH, but they're creating tools. They know a bit about Python. There's more to the story than just, I went and got a cert, now I'm ready to go to work, right? They want to see that you're excited about the field, that you've got some competency. A lot of people, I'm not trying to knock certifications or anything like that, but there are those paper certs out there that did a brain dump or whatever they had to do to go grab certification, and now it devalues the people that really worked hard to get that cert, and it devalues that cert for them. So now we've got to raise that value back up by doing things like that, right? By doing CTFs and write up your CTF, put that in a GitHub repository. Like your GitHub is like a super good way to get what you're learning and what you're doing and how you're staying active in the community. Conferences now are a little tough because everything's virtual, but hopefully within the next year or whatever, conferences are going to be opening back up. But go to virtual conferences, get your name on lists, start talking to people. What we're doing right now. People are asking you questions. Get engaged, get your name out there, start interacting with the community, comment on people's LinkedIn pages, comment on people's tweets. Oh, this is really great. Let me give back. I learned about this resource. Have you guys seen? This is so amazing. And yeah, there's going to be 1,000 people that have seen that and go, yeah, I know about that. Everybody knows about that. But then there's going to be 1,000. I did a talk at
I love what you're saying, by the way. This is what I preach to my audience all the time, and it's good to have someone else come in and kind of voice support of that. It's awesome. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, I did a talk at Wild West Hacking Fest, and it was a 15-minute campfire talk on some resources that were, I thought this is going to be a stupid talk, right? This is stuff that everybody's already going to know, and I don't know why they wanted me to come out here and do this, but whatever, I'll do it. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, that should have been a main stage talk. That was so good. I had no idea that these were resources that were available to me to help me learn. If you show that passion and you're going after those resources, you're doing things like Hack the Box, right? You're doing CTFs from VulnHub.
Now, real quick. So someone asked, and I keep forgetting that way, people who are just now learning about hacking and what it means to become an ethical hacker. What is a CTF, and what does that mean for someone just getting started?
Yeah, good question. So a CTF is a purposely vulnerable virtual machine or cloud-based, whatever. Somehow it's a system that's up and it is purposely vulnerable, and it's kind of a game for you to use your skills to figure out. Some of them are very straightforward. They call those boot to roots. So you grab the ISO or you log in to Hack the Box or Try Hack Me or whatever, and you boot the machine. There's a straight path to root. You have to know the techniques and the tools that you need to use to get to root, and you perform those actions and you get root, and you get like a little flag at the end. It's either like an MD5 hash, or maybe they write something funny in a file and you just cat the file and there's a poop emoji or something, and they're fun. They're meant to be games, but they help you solidify those tools and tactics and techniques that you're learning or already know, or maybe need to learn more about to be successful in a way that you never thought that was possible. Okay, now I got to stretch myself a little bit. So they're kind of like going to the gym for hackers, right?
That's good. I love that.
Yeah, they give you a great environment in which you can control, you can work with, you can figure out, oh, why am I, and then go out and once you've conquered that mountain, write a write-up, put it out online, and point people to and go, hey, I just finished XYZ CTF. Some of them are part of conferences. A lot of conferences in the hacking community will put a CTF together. One of them are common ones is the it's during the holidays, like holiday hacking or something like that from SANS, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's always a fun one. Ed Scotus puts it together. If you don't know Ed, you need to look him up because he's an interesting fellow, and he's been in this community for a long, long time and has mentored. I remember reading a book of his back when I was like in my early 20s and thinking, this guy is crazy good. I'll never be on his level, right? If you went back and told that Daniel that I'd be doing this today, he'd be like, yeah, whatever. That's never going to happen. But it's that's what a CTF is. It's meant to give you a cyber range that you can build yourself and kind of work with or log into and work with it. Most of them are usually free. There are some pay for, which gives you like premium access or things like that. So I know Hack the Box has that. Hack Me has that. Pentester Lab, if you want to get into the web application side of things, Pentester Lab is a great resource, and they give you CTFs. Continuing down web application, bug bounty, responsible disclosure. HackerOne has a CTF. Then you've got things like OWASP Juice Shop, where it's a Java-based environment that you spin up. It's a full web environment that's Java-based, and you go in and you can buy things, comment, add stars. It's just like going to a web store, but you're running it on your local machine and you're allowed to hack at it and try all the top 10 and whatnot.
This is part of the reason I'm just falling in love with the hacking world because, I come from networking and system administration and stuff, and we just don't have stuff like this. Like, sure, we have great certifications, we have great learning resources, but we don't really have networking competitions or all these online things where we can like test our skills like this. It's amazing. And one of the biggest problems we have in every area of IT is how do I get experience when it requires experience, and the kind of chicken before the egg situation. It's amazing that hacking allows you to do these CTFs and actually go through the process of actually doing something. You can demonstrate your skills, write it up, and you can almost, like someone just commented I have on the screen now, I think many people don't know that these CTFs show experience, and doing a write-up is actually something that you can demonstrate, a real skill.
I'm so glad they brought up the emphasis on the write-ups, because at the end of the day, and most people don't realize this, the report that a penetration tester turns into their client is what the client paid for, right? They didn't pay for you to come in there and be all elite and pop shells. As fun as that stuff is, trust me, it's a high every time you get root or even some shell access of any kind. You're like, oh yeah, man, I'm awesome. And you feel good, and then imposter syndrome kicks back in. You're like, I'm horrible at this. But you finally get that root. They don't care that you got root. They want to know what they have to do to secure their environment.
Yeah.
So taking those CTFs and I actually did that. I thought this would be a good resource to people that are using ITProTV. So I took a CTF and I thought, I'm going to write this up not like a CTF walkthrough, but as a penetration testing report, right? And if you're doing something like OSCP, that's extremely relevant because they make you write a report, and that's what you turn in. And that report is how you actually pass the exam. So if you can't write a cogent report, you're probably going to have a hard time getting past that exam. They might come back and say, hey, yeah, you did all these things, but I can't follow that. I can't recreate that. There's nothing in here about what to do about that. What should I be doing? So take those CTFs. Now you get to show not only the skills that you know, but your ability to convey that to somebody in a way that makes sense to them, that it's actionable. Oh, so there was a Sql injection vulnerability that you discovered. Okay, so I need to be using, prepared statements and parameterized arguments instead of, and maybe even like a WAF. And so, because you got to put that stuff in a report and say, here are some mitigation strategies that will help you close this loophole in your security. That is the meat and potatoes of a penetration tester report, is that how do I fix it? Great, you found it. I mean, not so great for me, but now what do I do? Right? So that's where penetration testers really show their worth when they're getting paid, $30,000 for a week engagement. So I know on this side of things, on this tester side of things, they think 30 grand's a drop in the bucket compared to a data breach.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's cheap insurance compared to having all your PII on Pastebin or on the dark web being sold. Ask all the companies that have had to gone through that, what their legal fee alone was on that stuff, right? You see it all the time. Data breach cost X millions of dollars because, they had 100,000 user data records breached. 30 grand all of a sudden seems like a dream come true. Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We see that, but they don't get that yet until they're confronted with the idea that I'm actually going to have to pay how much? GDPR's hit me with what? That's crazy. And we are now out of business, right? They don't want that to happen. So that's how you show them the value in that. This is going to keep you out of legal hot water. This is going to keep your coffers full. This is going to keep your people happy because we're going to help you close these problems. You're going to be much more secure for the siege of it. And you know what? We'll come back next year. We'll do it again. We'll see if we can't figure out some more issues and get you even that much more secure. That's how you show your value to them. So if you can do that on the front end, so that you can get into those positions to talk to somebody and say, man, I'm super passionate about getting into red team security. I want to be a penetration tester. I want to do that. I want to be an ethical hacker. Cool. How do I know you're not just blowing smoke up my behind, right? Oh, well, check out my LinkedIn, check out my GitHub, check out my website, look at my YouTube, look at my Twitter, look at all the people I'm following. This person is active. You be active in the community. You network that way, right? The old human networking, and man, your sky's the limit. And you're somebody that knows how to interact, can talk. That's probably one of the biggest problems I see in just IT at large.
Oh yeah, in tech in general.
The inability of people to have good soft skills, and I said they're looking for attitude and aptitude. If you can be the right person for the job and you have the ability to learn it and do it, they'll train you. They're happy to do it. And I'm seeing that more often, more mentor type roles coming up more often than not.
Oh yeah, I mean you're speaking the gospel truth here, because it's so hard to train attitude. I mean there's nothing worse than getting someone on your team who just doesn't want to be there, and they make it very clear, and they just butt heads with everyone, and they don't want to do anything they don't want to do like that. That sucks. But if you get someone on your team who they may not know everything, but man, they want to learn, they have a hunger for it, and I don't mind staying late and showing this guy a few things, this gal a few things. I love people like that. It's contagious. Anyways, we're going to switch to a few super chats here that came in. One from VA Scratch King says, keep being amazing and keep being real, and shout out to your special guest. So shout out to you, thanks. Daniel. Let's see, we got a few more coming in here. Andre Hall says, love the channel. We got a question here from D Fury. Let me throw it up here on the screen real quick. And it's up there, and I'll read it right now. It says, I've been out of the IT field for 10 years due to an illness. I'd like to start taking exams. I have overwhelming anxiety that I will fail. How do you deal with failing exams and failure in general? Now, you kind of just touched on that, Daniel. What's your advice for D Fury?
Yeah. D Fury, I'm going to start off with saying I totally get that. Like, I was like, did I write this? Is this? I don't remember putting that in as a super chat because I get so anxious going into an exam. Halfway through it, I'll always be like, I'm failing. I've totally failed this. I suck at this. I am not good at this. And I'm always surprised at the end when it's like, oh, you passed with like 90%. I'm like, how did that even happen? There's no way I did that. This computer is mistaken. So I totally feel that anxiety. I get where you're coming from. What I've learned from that is that I didn't fail, right? I'm going to start quoting, I think it was Thomas Edison. He said, I didn't fail when I was trying to create the light bulb. I learned ways not to create a light bulb, right? And that is the idea. That's the switch we need to flip in our brains. so that anxiety does not overcome us, right? And that we're able to then control it because we realize, okay, this is a game and I'm going to win, right? If I gave you the new Halo game or Call of Duty or whatever,
Love that.
you are going to fail hard in that first level, right? The first level is going to kick your butt. And then the next time it's not going to kick your butt so bad. And the next time it's not going to kick your butt even less. The same thing when it comes to these certification exams is don't be afraid to fail, right? Think of it as, okay, I'm going to know exactly where my weak spots are. And maybe if you treat it like, if I go in there or if I approach this, I'm going to get the X certification. I'm going to approach it as I expect to fail that first time. Okay, how much does this cert cost? All right, so I need to budget that. I need to plan for that as money. A lot of certifications now, especially on the red team side of things, are you pay X dollars for the course and the exam. You get a retake voucher with that.
That's awesome.
Man.
That's awesome.
EJPT, free retake voucher. Right?
That's perfect. Yeah, because like I can't tell you how many times I've delayed my exam.
Right.
1 time, 2 times, 3 times because I was afraid, and they're not cheap. And I'm fortunate now to be able to afford a retake every once in a while. But back in the day when I was being scrappy, trying to fight my way up, that's difficult, man. Like I'll take it in 6 months, I guess. I mean, that's rough. I love that they do that.
Yeah, totally. OSCP was, it used to be like $60 for a retake. I think they doubled it now. It's like 120. It's nothing like, I'm not going to blow my nose with $120 and throw it away, but it's not the full retake price, right? So now all of a sudden, failing my way forward seems like a really good strategy because, okay, well, maybe I get a free retake voucher to go with this. Okay. And I guarantee we're going to see that being standard to get a free retake voucher because that's what people are looking for. I need to be able to go in there and find out what I don't know well enough. And there's only one way to do that, and that's take that exam and go,
that's
okay,
good advice.
I am weak on X. My enumeration is not where it needs to be. I need to slow down. I learned because I failed this exam that I need to make sure that I'm methodical. I'm not going down rabbit trails. I'm hitting every versioning thing that I can, finding every technology, looking for I have a method to that madness. I need to get better at that. Then go back, take 2-3 weeks, hone that craft, go back in, and then you kill it, right? So I always try every time I can is to say, okay, is this going to be outside of the realm of possibilities for a retake? Are retakes cheap? Are they and come with the price that they are? That's really enticing to me because now I've got that breathing room. So look for those vendors and reward them by taking their exams. Right? Their competitors are going to see that they're losing market and go, what are they doing that we're not doing? And if the shout from the masses is free retake vouchers, they're going to go, okay, well then we need to work with price. We need
everyone right now. I want you to do this right now. Go find your favorite vendor, whoever it is, Cisco, Microsoft, whoever. Make sure they have retake. Tweet at them. Let's get this out there. I love that because that's the best advice. Either budget a retake or find people that do that because that's the biggest fear I always had through my career. And it's funny, the moment I was comfortable with failing something, which was, once I was further in my career and I was not afraid to fail that first time, I ended up most of the time, and you would expect this, passing that first time. And I didn't feel ready, but I actually was. And that happens more often than not. Yeah, it's crazy. So you go in there, you're like, I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to fail this one. I'll pass the next one. But you actually knew more than you thought. So yeah, having that freedom, that parachute is vital right now.
Well, so, plus you give yourself the freedom to not second guess yourself, right? Yeah. Because you're not going, I need this point. I need these points. It could be this, but if you think of it this way, it's this one. Oh, check. Oh, it's the wrong one. Right?
Or 20 minutes later on the same question, and then you run out of time. Like that kind of stuff sucks, man.
Yeah. So now you get to go and go, I'm going to straight up fail this like a boss. And you're like, click, 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 click. Oh, what do you mean I passed? Sweet. Right. So it just removes that anxiety. And maybe you do fail. And that's an expectation that you set for yourself. I expected to fail. I don't feel bad about it because that's what I went in there to do. I just wanted to learn about the exam. I didn't go in to pass it. If I did, sweets. But if I didn't, that's part of the plan. A lot of it comes down to how you set your own expectations. What do you expect to do when you're in that exam booth. If you're expecting to go in there and hammer it out one and done, okay, that's fine. But that could push a lot more pressure on you. But if you can find those certs, or you can get those vendors, and a lot of vendors, even if they don't offer as a policy free retakes, a lot of them will have promotions where, hey, if you buy the certification now, you get a free retake. Jump on that like flies to honey, because that right there is going to help you be successful, because then it does remove that. You're like, yeah, but if I don't need the retake, then it wasn't worth it. No, it's worth it. You got the exam. It's totally worth it, right? So
absolutely,
look for
without
those
a
deals
doubt,
and jump on them when you see them.
Great advice. All right, got a super chat from Pete Jarvis. Easy one. What was the online education training you did again? Looking it up as I want to do this also. And I think he's referencing your training, ITProTV. That's what it is, ITPro.tv. And you can check out Daniel's course on the CEH, and you'll be doing the CEH version 11 probably, I don't know, tomorrow, right? It'll be ready tomorrow?
Yeah, I would love that to be ready tomorrow. Like I said, if you haven't seen the courseware, huge, right? Like this big, tons of pages, thousands of pages to go through on that. But I don't expect it to be a huge lift for me, but I'll need to see where they've shift emphasis, shift focus. So I got a couple other things on my plate right now, but I do expect in the very near future to be tackling that and putting that in the library. Good news is if you have an ITProTV subscription, you get CEHv10, and when CEHv11 comes out, that comes right along with it. So it's not like we hem you in to where, oh, you only bought CEHv10, so I'm so sorry. You get everything in our library. So if something doesn't make sense, you're like, man, I'm not like checked out on these networking concepts. Go check out Ronnie and Anthony on the Cisco stuff, or watch a Network Plus or whatever. You get everything we have in our library for whatever the subscription costs. And I think we're at like $29 right now for a monthly subscription.
Yeah, you're one of the most competitive offers out there, which is awesome, because like there's a lot of expensive options out there, which I'm pretty familiar with, and you guys are awesome.
Well, we appreciate, we say around here, we don't want price to be a roadblock to success for our customers, right? We want to give them great training, and we want them to be successful. That's why we got into this business. I've known just about everybody in this building for, oh my goodness, what am I going on, 15 years now, right? I knew Tim and Don I met them in 2004, and we all just became really good friends. And one day they called me and said, we're thinking about starting this business, and we want to be the trainers we wish we had. We want to give the content we wish that we had gotten when we were coming up through this stuff. And I thought, that's a noble cause right there. And it sounds like a lot of fun, because you guys are a hoot and I enjoy your company. So, I was happy to come on board, and we have a lot of fun around here, and we take our members seriously in their learning career. We want them to be successful. That's why we spend time in like our forums. People post in our forums. I check those forums every day for something relevant to my vertical, so that if I can answer it for them and get them more successful. That's just a part of the package, right? That comes with being an ITProTV member. I mean, geez, our free. You can come in and watch us live on the live stream and watch us make mistakes and go, oh, why does that Sql injection not work? It's because I put a period in.
That's what's cool, and I admire you guys for, is that they do their training live. Like you can go watch them screw up, which is kind of voyeuristic and fun. That's and all the stuff you're mentioning does bleed through into the training. It's fantastic. I really enjoy it. So thank you for doing great stuff with that. Super chat from Richard Dalton. It says, I have the CYSA Plus and Trifecta. I'm enjoying the Linux Plus and Pentest Plus from ITProTV. Adam G told me to go after the CASP. Remember, an acronym hell right now. Yeah. After those. What are your thoughts on the CCSP after the CASP?
The CCSP. Okay. Yeah, now I'm in acronym hell. So those are definitely, so Adam is kind of like the yin to my yang. When it comes to security. Adam's been around the block many, 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 many times, right? I'm not trying to like disparage his age or whatever. He just has a ton of experience on that blue team side of things. He has been all over the world. He's worked for Microsoft as a security expert and teaching them what they need to do, right? I can't tell you how many times, every now and then me and him will get paired up and we'll go to a conference, and oh my goodness, it almost gets annoying, because we get stopped like every 5 minutes, someone going, you're Adam Gordon. I got my CISSP because of you, man. I watched your training. It was awesome. I'm like, dude, this guy is the bomb when it comes to CISSP. Like everybody took an Adam Gordon course and got CISSP. So that's kind of his strength. My strength is that red team side. Now I do CASP, not CASP, I'm sorry, CISA Plus as well. And I'm probably going to have a few more blue team leanings, but it's going to be more of that hands-on type of certifications and things like that. I don't know what I'm going to go for quite yet, but I have that on the horizons as far as my hope to do kind of thing to put in the library for us, because I think this would be a strong thing for us to have for our customers. Some hands-on blue team. I'm going through some stuff right now. Hopefully we'll be able to incorporate that very soon. But as far as like CASP is like a strong technician, blue team technician that has some managerial, that's starting to like, I know CISA, or not CISA, but CompTIA doesn't bill it that way, but that's typically what I've seen when it goes away. It's like, I want to go more manager. So that's when you start pushing into CISSP, CCSP. Chuck, you're gonna have to help me out with that acronym. You got that one? I'm not checked out on
CCSP.
on
I'm gonna Google that right now because I have no idea what that is.
Is it cloud? No, that's.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It is. It's the Cloud Security Certification. I think maybe.
That's CSSP.
Yeah. Oh no, hold on.
Right.
I googled it and it came out the wrong thing.
I thought it was a Cisco exam.
CCSP. I don't think it is. Yeah, it's a cloud security. It's from the ISC squared. Yeah.
ISC squared. Okay. I think I actually did that show with Adam a while back, like a long time ago. So it is things I've noticed about most blue team type training, like I'm securing, they emphasize, so if it's a cloud-based certification, emphasize doing all the blue team security stuff, but inside of a cloud environment. So, right, that's kind of how that's going to go. You start getting like the CISSP, doing all the blue team security stuff, but as a manager, how you need to know what you need to know. That's why that exam is such a beast, because you kind of have to have a pretty wide breadth of knowledge so that you can manage teams that have the deep knowledge on those topics, but still be able to have that conversation with them, and then push that up to the C-level execs so they can make informed business decisions about a corporation. So that's why you see that way. And he has a lot of experience in that realm. I'll probably end up getting my CISSP one day. Just right now, I don't have the time nor the inclination to go down that road, because I don't wish to be. I have way too much fun doing hacking stuff to be enticed by understanding the 5 steps of incident response.
Count me out. I have no ambitions to go for the CISSP.
Know these 12 steps in this order. Oh, goodness gracious.
I mean, it's definitely like you'll make money with that certification. You can demand a salary, but boy, you got to love it, because that's some dry stuff for me.
I think the average salary for a CISSP is like $200,000 or $300,000 a year. So it's tons of money. But you took a beating to get there, right? But it was totally worth it if you get that cash. So.
All right, so we got a super chat from IT Career Skills. He has a great channel. He used to partner with IT Career Questions. Zach over there says, "Love what you're doing, NetworkChuck. You rock too, Daniel." So
thank you so much.
Just good kudos out there. Got another one here, and we'll probably end soon because I don't want to keep it too long, Daniel. I know we've been going for a bit, but we got one. We got one from Pete Jarvis. Another one from Pete Jarvis. Okay. So would you guys say these types of certifications are gaining exposure because we're seeing way more people are becoming certified?
Good question. I think that they're gaining exposure, maybe not necessarily because more people are becoming certified. I think more people are becoming certified because they're gaining more exposure. I think it's the inverse, right? So I think that HR teams are becoming aware of these certifications, and because the IT people that are in the know in their organizations are asking for that on job postings. So because of that, they're getting more exposure, and people are going, I don't even know what that is. Now, to get on the Googs, and they go, oh, okay. I mean, I remember going down that road. I remember going, what is GPen? What is this? What is that?
Oh, speaking of which, real quick, small diversion. Someone asked about GPen. It's do you call it GIAC or just GIAC? What do you call it?
GIAC, yeah.
Okay. What is that? And why? And how does it compare to the ones we've talked about today?
So that is SANS Institute. That's their certifications. They're through the GIAC.
Okay, and those are super expensive ones, right?
Yeah. So the exams are expensive. Not only the training is expensive, but the exams are expensive. Interesting. But listen, I've met tons of SANS trainers, great people, smart, just geniuses at what they do. Know that stuff backwards and forwards, worked in those spaces, ex-DOD contractors, ex-military, ex-NSA. You're definitely getting you're getting your money's worth out of SANS training. I can't like disparage SANS training. It is the tip of the spear, right? My goal in life is to give you as close to SANS training as I possibly can for $30 a month, right? And I think with some of my training, I come close. I actually do the training we have at ITProTV. We have GSEC. We offer GSEC 8570 compliance certification. So if you want to take that, it's like a $1,200 or $1,300 exam sit just to sit the exam. But if you got ITProTV, I'm going to help you out with that. Good news is they allow you to take in handwritten notes and an arms full of books as a research. It's an open book exam. Yeah, as many books as you can fit in one arm, they'll allow you to take that into the exam booth, including your own handwritten notes.
So I don't know if that makes the exam crazy easy or it's just really, really hard if they let you do that.
Yeah, I opted not to sit the exam just because I'm like, it's from the objectives and everything. And Mike that works here, he actually took that exam a few years ago. He was interested, so he took that exam, and he was that's what it was. He was teaching that course before I took over as the security vertical champion, and he started shifting his gears more toward the Microsoft side of everything, and being our Microsoft champion. And he was like, it's basically security plus.
Oh,
right?
Well, okay,
but for $1,200 or $1,300, and it's open book. So I thought, okay, I don't know if it's. I'm pretty checked out on all that information, and I try to do a really good job of again, I'm thinking the people that are taking that training, I'm thinking eventually they're going to want to do some of this stuff. So I always try to back that stuff up with, hey, let me show you that. Let's not just talk about that. Let me kind of give you some practical experience with this, even just a little bit. Might not be a deep dive, but hey, it's going to be here. I always go to Sql Injection because it's something most people are kind of familiar with and aware of. It's not going to be that 1 = 1. We'll do that, but let me dump a database onto a website for you real quick so you can kind of see the impact. Let me get shell access because I had write capabilities through a Sql Injection. You don't have to know how I did that, but you can see that, oh, this could be quite devastating. And now I understand that avenue a little bit better because what I want to do is set the bar just a little bit higher than what they're expecting so that you have to reach just beyond your grasp. And if you reach that bar and pull yourself up, man, I'm hoping at that point you're just super equipped to go sit those exams that you paid good money for and are successful. I want the people that are watching my content to be successful. So I'm doing everything I can to make that a reality.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, where can people find you if they want to follow your musings?
My musings, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn right now. I like LinkedIn because it's professional. Twitter tends to be a tire fire. So a lot of times I just stay away from Twitter. I used to tweet back in the day, and then I just saw it was this big old mess. So I didn't like that about that community. So I started looking for other social media and found myself on LinkedIn, and I like LinkedIn a lot. It's a great way to network with other people, meet people in your sphere. I love to see when people are like, hey, COVID cost me my job and I need some work. Anybody in my, connection sphere, help me out. And people just rally to those cries. Hey, look at this. They point them to jobs that are open, or they point job employers to, hey, have you seen my friend here on LinkedIn? You need to check them out. They would be perfect for you. I love the building up, always giving you something either inspirational or educational, or that's a part of something that you're interested in. It's a great community. So I really like LinkedIn as a social media for doing I can't tell you how many cool tools I've discovered, certifications, resources, just through someone going, hey, just saw this over here. Are you guys aware of that? Boom. I don't know what Bloodhound is. What is that? Oh, this is cool. And
LinkedIn's awesome. Yeah, speaking of which, I put Daniel's LinkedIn in the chat, so if you want to go connect with him, he might accept your request. I don't know.
I will accept your requests.
All right, he said it. He said it.
Yeah, I will do it.
Awesome. We got a super chat from Jaspel, or Jaspal. I'm not sure how to say that. He says, a great question. I'm curious about this. Isn't there a way to get around the 2-year experience for CEH? Can you do it by taking the official EC Council training? Are there pros and cons of going that route? I think that's the way you can, right? And do you recommend that?
I think now that you say that, that does ring a bell that you can get around that. If I'm remembering correctly, they make it wicked hard for you to get around that because they really don't want you to do that.
They want you to pay for their stuff, and I can't knock them for wanting that, right?
This is how they feed their families and put clothes on backs and food on tables. I totally get that. So we can have a debate on whether or not their pricing is right, but I totally get that they want you to pay for their stuff. They offer a product, and that's what they're selling. So yeah, totally get that. I don't knock them for that at all. But like I said, now that you say that, it does sound familiar. If it is in there, they bury it. That you got to go around the bowels of EC Council's website to find that stuff. Because I'm starting to remember looking for that because I think somebody mentioned that to me before, and I was like, okay, let me look around here, and I probably knew that web app better than my own, but before it was done, I was like, oh, here it is. That's ringing a bell. So I want to say tentatively 75% sure that you are correct on that, but don't hold me to it.
Cool. So, is there any benefit to just going through the courseware and getting past that 2-year requirement that way? Or I'm trying to figure out how to ask that question. I guess it doesn't really matter because, like what you said before, the requirements, the prereqs to CEH is that you basically have a little bit of experience in IT. You have Security Plus knowledge and such. Do you think you need 2 years experience in IT to take the CEH?
So some people don't, honestly. I think that's legitimate. Like some people are just really, really adept at IT, and they see a concept, they read about it, they understand it, they assimilate it, and they can practically perform it, and they can do that in a very short amount of time. I totally understand if they want to bypass all those restrictions because they know themselves to say, I'm pretty good. I think I could probably handle this. I don't need to have 2 years in the field to be successful here. So I think that's probably, if EC Council does have that caveat, that's probably why they allow for it. But I have seen a lot of people. So this goes to something. I'm glad this kind of got brought up. A lot of people want a shortcut to the finish line, and I totally get that. Right? I am that person. Like cheat codes are there for a reason, right? On your favorite games, because I just want to beat the thing. I just want to experience the game and have fun with it, and then set it to the side or whatever. So I get the idea of wanting to take a shortcut to the finish line. I don't recommend that. And rarely is that the case that you can do that, right? So if they say 2 years prereqs, it's a good, I think that's a solid idea that about Microsoft, about Linux, about networking, you understand how operating system works, you're good with permissions, basic security functionality within those environments, and then some web. You understand how websites work, how HTTP works, all that technology that kind of builds that, a basic understanding of methods, get requests, post requests, what's going on in there, understand some scripting. You get that knowledge from being somebody who does it for a couple of years. You'll really quickly find yourself with that experience after a 2-year span. At any kind of IT job, even a help desk, honestly, get a lot of experience on a help desk, especially with dealing with customers. So that can always be a really good first job for IT. So like I said, I get you wanting to go and just say, I just want to bang this thing out and go get that cert. I get that mentality. I don't recommend it for most people generally.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty good advice because, I mean, you can become too cert heavy without experience, and that looks really bad on a resume if you are rocking an OSCP or something, but you've done nothing in IT before. So yeah, definitely want to have that experience before you jump into something like that. Daniel, do you have time for 2 more questions? I don't want to keep it too long. Okay,
no, you're
cool.
good, man. You're good.
So real quick, this is not a question. It's just a shout out. He says, "Hi Chuck." This is Charlie Steffens. "Hi Chuck, I'm 23, just getting started in the IT world. Just wanted to say thank you for all your help." Thank you, Charlie, for the super chat. All right, so here's the 2 questions. One was a super sticker from Anthony Sequeira, so shout out to Anthony.
Nice.
And then here's Jonathan Pakey. I think that's how you say it. Let me throw it up here. Find it on my program. There it is. He says, "I'm in my last year of a cybersecurity course, and I graduate next year. Would you recommend getting any certifications before or after graduating to help find that job in cybersecurity in the UK?"
That could definitely be a good 1-2 punch. If you've got a cybersecurity degree and you've got a certification to go along with it, you're going to put yourself above the pack that only has a degree or only has a certification. So, I talk a lot about to people that I interact with about whether or not degrees are worth, because they're super expensive, right? You're going to school, especially here in the U.S. A lot of those types of degrees are offered through private technical schools. We all know about these online colleges and things of that nature. A typical 4-year school probably won't be as expensive as one of those schools because of their private nature. But you can spend $40,000 real easy on a 4-year degree at one of these schools and then be in massive debt and hoping to get a job. Depends on the school, obviously, on whether or not they have a good program. But if you got a good program, you got a good degree, you got some solid skills, man, you should be able to go in and tackle a good cert like OSCP or something from Elan Security. And then you have that 1-2 punch, and people are going to be probably knocking your door down to come have you work for them. Because
do you think that, because I'm still new to the hacking world, but do you think that a degree like a cybersecurity degree by itself is enough without certifications, or do you think the hacking world honors certifications more than a degree?
Yes.
Because certifications, like, we know what they cover. Degrees can be so wide and varied, right? We don't know what that degree program covered.
That's the thing, and that's where you're going to need to, like, I think in IT we all kind of know, like, Chuck, you didn't have to go to college to understand networking. You can just start getting Cisco courses and go to Cisco Academy and all that other good stuff and start learning about that stuff. And you didn't need a college degree. Look at millionaire bug bounty hunters, right? Like 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds that are making $1 million a year discovering bug bounties. They're not out of high school yet.
And all my audience goes, "What did they just say? Bug bounty?" I'm Googling that right now. These people are killing. Don't get me wrong. That is the exception, not the rule, to bug hunters. But people that do bug bounty hunting can make a decent living, and they work from home. They set their own hours. They have a lot of fun. It's a great community. And you get to hack on like Yahoo and Google and, Tesla and all these.
Tesla, pick your poison. There's DOD, the United States Department of Defense has a huge scope. Anything with a .gov, .mil is open scope, right? Go start hacking on those programs. And they, of course, read the responsible disclosure form before you start getting crazy to understand what the rules are behind that. But they basically say, if it's got a .mil or .gov on it, go for it. And because we want to know where those holes are. So you don't have to have a degree for that stuff. You don't have to have anything. You just got to know what you're doing. You just got to know how to find a cross-site scripting exploit or a vulnerability and exploit it, and be able to write up a report that says, here's how I did that, and interact with somebody on the other end and be able to be patient and wait for somebody to go, this was a duplicate. We already know about that. And you go, no. Yeah, that does happen.
I worked so hard.
I worked so hard to find this, and they're already working on it. Oh no, that does happen. But that's all real world stuff, because that is the real world, and you can just go crazy. You don't need nothing. Just get into it. So it just really depends on where you're trying to get into. If you're trying to be a penetration tester and work for a company like Trusted Sec or something to that effect, that's going to be where they'll look more heartily at what your degree was in, what the program was like. They're going to want to see some of the courses that you took and what was involved in those courses. So that's going to come in you being able to write a really good resume and put that pertinent and relevant information into your resume so that they understand, oh, this was a good course versus we learned about operating systems and, some of them are kind of weak.
Yeah, Jonathan actually followed up with this statement. He said, in my final year, we actually performed a simulated pen test similar to what the EJPT sounded like, so it's quite practically intensive. So it sounds like he had a pretty good degree program that he could probably throw into his resume. Yeah,
I would totally highlight that in my resume and say, this was a really good experience. We did practical hands-on stuff. I was a part of, my capstone project was hacking alive environments, and we found bugs, and it was fun. We did this and X, Y, and Z. I demonstrated these skills in that environment. I was able to successfully perform that. Maybe take your project, put it in your GitHub so that they can have an easily accessible place to see what it was that you did in those environments and go, oh yeah, this was no joke. They actually have some skills. They might be a viable contact. And of course, that personality that comes through, because again, you might not be the greatest pen tester quite yet or ethical hacker, but man, you really fit the culture and you seem to be a really good fit for the team. You got a great attitude. You're hungry. You're humble. They see that kind of stuff, man. You're like a diamond out in the middle of the sand, and people are like, I can see that from a mile away. I want that. It's attractive.
Oh yeah, culture fit. I mean, even if you're going up against like the most certified, 20 years experienced person, but your culture fits above theirs, you win. You win because they can train you. They can train you to anything, but culture fit's so hard to train on. I mean, you really can't. Yeah.
I sat a talk at from Deviant Olivant. If you don't know who that is, just check out, look up Deviant Olivant, and he was talking about what makes the best, or employable person, and he was like, you got 3 tiers of people. You've got that guy is awesome, or that girl is awesome. That person is awesome. Then you got, yeah, they're pretty good. And then you got, how do I put this? Screw that guy. Forget that person. I'm keeping it PG here. He did not. So be aware if you look up that talk. And it was a really interesting idea because he's absolutely right. You don't have to be that person is awesome. You just don't want to be screw that guy, right? And a lot of people, they get kind of full of themselves. They get puffed up with their skills, and they can be really amazing, but nobody wants to work with them.
No. I don't care how skilled you are. If you're a jerk, you're not working.
Word gets
here.
around. Yeah. Word gets around. In this community, word gets around. You're not going to keep a job long because someone's going to go, hey, do you know so-and-so? Because that's how jobs are really gotten a lot of times. It's like, oh, so-and-so set my training course, or I met them on Twitter and they were really receptive, or they were on LinkedIn. They were constantly posting things, and they requested a connection with me, and I accepted, and they were just always pleasant to interact with. And I can see their skills are growing, man. They're posting this or posting that. Have you looked at, I know you're looking for a junior pen tester. You should check that person out. They might be a good fit for you. That's the way you really build. That's how you network in this community and get those jobs. You got to have the skills to back it up, obviously. But as long as you have the basic skill sets that they're looking for, that attitude will win you out every time over someone who's a snob about what they can do. Because, so you are awesome, but you're also screw that guy. Right? And I don't want to have any part of you.
Yeah, and it's funny. A lot of people who are very, very smart just kind of are that way. Like, not every one of them, but like when they are in God mode and they're in boss mode, they don't have to compensate with having a good attitude or be nice to people. They don't have to. They can be a jerk because they feel like they know everything, and that should be encouraging to people who maybe don't feel like they're a genius, or that guy over there is in the matrix 24/7. I can't be like that guy. Well, you can overcome those obstacles just by being a cool person, by networking, by making sure every interaction you have with someone is intentional. Pretend that when you're talking with that guy, like that could be a future job opportunity. So make sure you have a good interaction with that person.
I think of it as like there's a little switch in our head that we need to flip when we have that problem. I was guilty as charged as that, right? I was thinking, I know this, just get out of my way, let me do the work. Oh, my users are so stupid. They're always causing me issues. like that's my job. I realized my point is to come here and help them, and we're on the same team, right? So let's join hands instead of this me versus them mentality. I decided to turn around and go, I'm going to come up beside you and I'm going to help you, and I'm going to be there for you because you don't know this stuff. I can't blame you for doing the wrong thing when this isn't your specialty. This is not what you do. This is what I do. That's why they hired me, to come help you when things don't make sense to you or you've accidentally done the wrong thing. And now we need to put a fire out. Nope, no problem. I'll get you there. We'll get there together. And then you'll get back to work and you'll get to killing it because whatever you do for this company pays my salary, right? We're supporting each other. So once that switches in your head and you get rid of that us versus them mentality and that tribalism, then all of a sudden you realize everybody here is in the same tribe. I need to help them. And let's do this together. All of a sudden you become that person that's like, they're really good. I want to talk with them. When I need help, I want them to come and help me because they didn't make me feel stupid. They didn't make me feel like I was the worst thing in the world because I made a mistake, right? They understand that people make mistakes. And we got over it and I was back to work and it was no big deal. And maybe I had to do some security awareness training because I accidentally clicked the link in an email that I shouldn't have done. But now I know not to do that. And I'll probably do it again one day. So I'll need some more training again down the road. But, I know they're not going to bite my head off and that they understand that people. That's the attitude that you guys need to have out there. And that's going to make you, I would be beating down doors for people like that. If I was running a company and I needed pen testers, if you can interact with that way with our clients, and to make them think, we're coming in here to help you. We're going to make you as strong in security as we possibly can be. We're going to work with your team. We're going to make them feel like they're in this together with us, and we're going to make you secure, and we're going to keep your customer data safe so that you don't have data breaches, and your bottom line is going to flourish because of it. And oh man, they'll probably fall down prostrate in front of you and go, oh, thank you, great savior of IT. That's the kind of thing that you want out of them. And that's the way to get it.
All right, so write your resumes, guys. Just not a jerk. You'll get hired. Just like that. No, don't do that, please. So we got one more question here. And this is kind of a tough one. I want to get your perspective on it. It's from Roger Marine. He says, I'm 58. Last year, I completed my bachelor's in cybersecurity with 18 IT certifications, which is super impressive. 7 of them are security. Do you think I'm not being hired because of my age? So he's having trouble getting hired. He's got all this stuff going on. What's your opinion on that?
Well, that seems like a story that needs a little more context.
Yeah, I would agree. A little more context. Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that, I haven't seen a lot of ageism. Again, people are hiring for aptitude and attitude, right? If you obviously have the aptitude, you got 18 IT certifications, you've got a degree. I don't care that you're 58, man. You obviously can do a job. So I would want to take a look at what you were applying for, and take a look at your resume. I don't know how many interviews that you got out of that, but it just seems like you probably just need to network more. You gotta expect to not have everybody think you're awesome, or even, oh, they're all right, because they don't know you, right? You've got to build that trust with somebody that you don't know. So maybe hiring a professional to go over your resume and make it as tantalizing as it could be to a possible hiring organization. Then, of course, you got to go in and you got to kill it when it comes to the interview. The interview process is extremely important. Getting past HR is one thing, but if you get in there and you say the wrong thing or you have the wrong attitude, again, I don't know you from Adam's house, Cat, so I'm going to assume you're a good person and that you're cool because you obviously got some really cool skills and you're passionate about what you're trying to do. So I would want to see how you interact in those one-on-ones to give you some critique. That would be something you would need, that hands-on one-on-one to try to figure out where your weak spots are.
Yeah, that's good. I would say like being 58 and just now getting all these certifications and your degree, ageism is a real thing, right? And it happens.
Yeah.
And what you're going through, being 58 and having that skill set is unusual, but it doesn't mean you're any less of an engineer jumping into that role. So I think maybe like what kind of Daniel said, you need help with your resume to kind of help tell the story of why you are how you got to where you are. Because you will not, and you're going to be great in any role you go into, but you have to be able to tell, well, why are you 58 just now getting into that? Because it's unusual. Doesn't mean you're not going to get the job, but it's unusual. So I saw there's further context in the chat we saw. I think he was out of work for 8 years, taking care of family, which is a noble thing and it's awesome. But you have to be able to explain, okay, what was going on. There's got to be something on the resume, some way to explain that, which can be hard because resumes are supposed to be very professional, very this and that. But at the same time, you got to be able to just tell that story about how you got to where you are, where your passion comes from. And I made a LinkedIn live stream a few months ago, kind of helping people with the LinkedIn stuff. And that was part of the story, or part of the advice I gave them was, your LinkedIn needs to be a story about who you are and what you're passionate about and how you got to where you are. So if you're 18 and you're looking to get into cybersecurity, it should be no different if you're 58. You got to tell them what you're excited about, display your passion, have that attitude, have the aptitude like Daniel said. Beyond that, it's what Daniel gave advice for as well, getting that hands-on, face-to-face with people, being able to explain yourself and kind of get the practice to figure out, well, hey, what's going on? Why am I not being hired? Can I get some HR to help me understand what's going on? Hopefully, and I'm assuming the best in a lot of companies, that ageism isn't going to be a thing for most people, but it does exist, and that sucks. But I think if you can step in and demonstrate your skill set, most people will not have a problem with that.
Yeah. I see that on LinkedIn a lot where people are just like, don't underestimate giving somebody a chance. Be that person that says, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on you. So hopefully, the people that are out there are hiring are hearing this and seeing this and other avenues as well and going, you know what, I'm not going to go crazy on this guy's age or whatever other circumstances may be odd or different than what I'm normally used to seeing. Let me just kind of talk to him for a second and see why that might be the case, and just at least give him a chance to explain himself. So hopefully that becomes the case. The other good news is that a lot of times when I go to conferences, they have that training. They have someone there. There are a lot of great podcasts out there in the security space that will help you with that. You should check out Black Hills InfoSec. They got a great podcast as well that talks not only to some of the technical aspects of what they do because they're pen testers, right? But also some of the resources that can help you in that. I think it's his name's Jason. He talks about he has a specific podcast where he talks about what you can do to kind of make yourself look good and how that works. I've been to conferences where there's somebody there and you're like, you know what? I get to schedule time with this person, sit down with them with my resume, and they're going to look over. They're a professional that looks over resumes, talks to you, teaches you how to perform well inside of an interview. Mm-hmm. And they kind of walk in, they give you that hands-on, and it's all included in the ticket price of going to a conference, which typically isn't that expensive. Maybe if you got to fly to it, that can add to the price. But these are investments that we make into ourselves to be successful, right? Yeah, there are a ton of free or I'll say value. I think that's a really good way of putting it. Valuable training and things that you can get out there, but some of it you're going to have to spend some money. Look at some things in your house and sell it. Sell everything that's not bolted down. Make the kids think they're next. And take that money.
I've got 4 of them. I can really do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then invest in yourself, right? That's what you're doing. You're investing in your own future, and it's going to pay out. You're going to get a return on that investment when all of a sudden, hey, I just got my first pen testing job. Oh man, now I'm a senior pen tester. I'm making $150K a year. That's a pretty good salary. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. In a very short amount of time, you can probably within, 3, 4, 5 years be at that senior level, making that senior money, and you're doing something you're passionate about. You're having a great time doing it. Man, that sign me up, right? That sounds awesome. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're going to spend a little money on that back end, but man, that future you is going to thank you for doing that and believing in yourself enough to say, I'm going to take this money and man, I'm going to put the nose to the grindstone. I'm going to learn what I got to learn. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to stop watching so much TV. I'm going to learn a new hacking technique instead. And I'm going to put something in my GitHub. I'm going to post on LinkedIn. I'm going to do these things instead. That's that hustle, man. And if you hustle, you're going to get noticed. You're going to get noticed, and people are going to want that hustle as part of their team because they see, man, this dude's got a fire. I need that fire. I needed to catch fire inside of my other team members. or be a part of the fire we already got going. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing they want to see. When they see it, sky's the limit.
Yeah, you are speaking the truth, man. Like that's why IT is amazing, because you really have that like no limit. And if you come in with that mentality and you're hungry and you have that drive, I always tell people getting into IT is kind of like a life hack, because you can go so far so fast if you just put your nose to the grind a little bit. It takes investment and it's not easy, but you'll get there faster than a lot of other careers, and you'll make more money than a lot of other careers so much faster. It's insane, and it's just it's a cheat code in life. That's what it is, and it's awesome.
I like that.
But anyways, Daniel, I don't want to keep you too long. I'm going to end it here. Guys, if you want to follow Daniel, I will post his LinkedIn right now. That's his social media of choice. You know what? And that's perfect, because, most of us are trying to get jobs and figure out how to break into the next thing. So go follow Daniel. I'm sure he posts awesome stuff. And if you want to check out Daniel's training, which is awesome, I'm using it in my journey to become a ethical hacker. And his CEH version 10 course is awesome. So link below, ITPro.TV. And anywhere else we can find you, or LinkedIn's like where you want to be found?
And LinkedIn is my space of choice, so that's where I'm going to hang out. Of course, if that ever changes, I'll make sure everybody that's following me knows all about that. But that's the best way. I do have a blog post, or a blog on our website as well, on ITProTV. I think it's blogs.itprotv.com, and then you'll see some of my stuff there. I need to get better at posting in there, but I try to make everything that's in that blog something worth looking. A lot of times I'll put CTF write-ups or just interesting experiences that I've gone through to try to, again, give back to that community. But I'd love to see some new faces on our training site and start to interact in our forums and things of that nature, because it's just so much fun. I'm really passionate about hacking. I've wanted to do this ever since I was a kid, ever since I saw like war games. And
yeah,
this is awesome. You can do that. Then you see sneakers and hackers and stuff. As ridiculous as that movie was, it was really inspiring. And you got things out there like now, like Mr. Robot and stuff, that really bring that to the forefront and make people. It's interesting, and it's funny is you think, oh, that's Hollywood, and there is some dramatization to it, but in real life, it is that much fun, and is a very addictive thing. So I love it. So if I ever change anything, I'll let people know, and and so they can follow me around.
Well, that's good to know. And guys, like, you want to go follow Daniel, because you want to follow people who can keep you motivated, who are passionate about what they do, because you need that. Learning this stuff is not easy. It's definitely fun and exciting, but it's not always fun and exciting. You're going to hit a time where you're frustrated, you can't do something, or maybe you're hitting a boring rough patch where you're learning all theory, and you want some hands-on. You want to just kind of switch and do something cool. That's why you got to follow a network of people in this industry. That's where you maintain your motivation and your excitement. Anyways, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about the CEH version 11, and also just everything else about hacking. You've been so awesome and generous to just give us so much advice. So thank you so much. And any ending words of wisdom at all, or? Yeah.
Well, I just thank you for having me on. It was an honor and a privilege to come on here. I've watched your stuff, and I think it's great. So keep up the good work.
I appreciate that.
And if you're out there and you're thinking, man, cybersecurity seems like something that I might be interested in, you probably will be, because it is very interesting work. So take that initial spark and motivation and run with it, and don't ever drop the ball. Just keep going. Plow through roadblocks. Don't ever let them stop you completely. Just think of it as like, you know what? It's a game, and I'm going to win. And you get that will going, and man, there will be little that would be in your way that would keep you from being successful. If all you do is you get passionate about it. As soon as you're passionate about it, you're going to find an engaging community, an open community, an accepting community, people that love. And then one day you'll be the person spurring on the next generation of people and being their resource, and them going, oh man, you've got so much experience. And you just find yourself there one day going, when did I become that? How did I get there? It's will
real.
Happen.
That's real, man.
You just got to keep pushing, and you'll find yourself there one day. Never give up, never surrender. And man, you're going to be that. You're going to be
Goonies
awesome
never die. All
That's
kinds
right,
of stuff.
baby.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we're going to end this, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, if you haven't already, check out IT Pro TV. If you want some coffee, I got some coffee. NetworkChuck.coffee. That's all I got. I'll catch you guys next time.
You